On Global TV News Prime, President Bola Tinubu mourns ex-UN peacekeeping advisor General Obiakar. In business, Dangote refinery cuts petrol price by 25 naira per litre. And on the foreign scene, United States threatens renewed war as Iran deal remains elusive. And in sports, Nigerians Ayishola Ajayi becomes world's fastest man in 2026. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the death of retired Lieutenant General Chika Dibia Isaac Obiakar, describing him as a distinguished Nigerian soldier, diplomat, and global peace advocate whose service brought honor to Nigeria and African continent. In a condolence message released by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, the president said the late military officer devoted his life to the service of humanity, peace, and national development, leaving behind a legacy of professionalism, courage, and selfless leadership. Tinubu noted that Obiakar made history as the first African to serve as military advisor for peacekeeping operations at the United Nations, a feat he said reflected the retired general's exceptional competence and earned him worldwide recognition. The chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, and said state governors are considering a new national minimum wage of 100,000 naira amid rising economic hardship in the country. Abdulrazak disclosed this in a Facebook post, noting that the proposal was driven by inflation, the rising cost of living, and mounting financial pressure on Nigerian workers. Now, according to him, state governments are engaging the federal government and organized labor to agree on a wage structure that balances workers' welfare with fiscal sustainability. The NGF chairman added that consultations were ongoing to ensure that any new wage regime will not place excessive financial strain on states. Meanwhile, human rights activist Omoyele Sowore has criticized the reported proposal of 100,000 naira minimum wage by state governors, arguing that the amount is insufficient to meet the needs of Nigerian workers. The remarks were contained in a statement posted on Showore's official page. According to the statement, Showore maintained that the proposed wage falls short of the cost of living in the country and would be inadequate for workers facing rising expenses. Women of the All Progressive Congress APC has held a special prayer session for Nigeria, calling for peace, unity, and sustainable development across the country. The prayer brought together party women from all religious divides to seek divine intervention for national stability and progress. Political correspondent Obong Usoro tells us more.
The gathering attracted APC women leaders, youth representatives, political stakeholders who emphasize the importance of national unity and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. Speaking at the event, the National Secretary of the City Boys Movement, Felix Arome, commended the women for their commitment to promoting peace and supporting efforts aimed at national development.
We've realized that we are more spiritual than we are physical as a people, whether we like it or not. There's more than enough evidence to show that we are more spiritual than physical. And most of the things that we are facing in Nigeria is more of a spiritual than physical.
Also speaking, Honorable Benny La, representing Lantan North and South Federal Constituency of Plateau State, stressed the need for citizens to place national interests above personal and political differences in order to foster development.
While the leaders are working hard to ensure there's progress, the devil is there trying to bring down this nation. That's why we must intensify our prayers against the plans of the wicked one.
The coordinator and representative of the APC National Women Leader, Dr. Mary Idele Esther Idowu, reaffirmed the commitment of APC women to promoting peace, unity, and national integration.
This is a particular vision that has to be group of women to organize themselves to stand specifically interceding for the nation, not minding their religion. We are one, as long as we are all God's children.
Prayers were offered for Nigeria's leadership, security, economic recovery, and the unity of all citizens regardless of ethnic, religious, or political affiliation. The women expressed optimism that through collective efforts, faith, and responsible leadership, Nigeria would overcome its challenges and achieve greater prosperity. Ubong Usoro, Global TV News.
Over now to the People's Democratic Party, PDP has affirmed former President Goodluck Jonathan as its presidential candidate for the 2027 general election. The decision was announced following a special national convention of the party held in Abuja. Political correspondent Ubong Usoro tells us more.
The PDP said it had fulfilled all legal requirements for its special national convention and had secured a venue in Abuja for the exercise. However, the party alleged that the management of the event center cancelled the booking after receiving threats from the Federal Capital Territory Administration regarding the use of the facility for the convention.
We were contacted by the management of A-Class to say that FCT Minister Muti has said that they should cancel the contract between us and them. We know it's wrong.
At the meeting, former President Goodluck Jonathan was unanimously affirmed as the PDP's presidential candidate and flag bearer for the 2027 presidential election. The party condemned what it described as intimidation and political oppression by government officials, warning that such actions could undermine Nigeria's democratic progress. The PDP also called on President Bola Tinubu to take steps to reduce political tensions.
We had paid for a hall in A-Class Event Center.
Party leaders expressed confidence that the PDP remains united and prepared for the 2027 elections, pledging to mobilize supporters nationwide in pursuit of electoral victory. Ubong Usoro, Global TV News.
State Governor Seyi Makinde has emerged as the presidential candidate of the Allied People's Movement, APM, for the 2027 general election following the conclusion of the party's presidential nomination process. Makinde also received the certificate of return and party's flag. He was presented the certificate and flag by the national chairman of the APM, Yusuf Dentale, at the presidential primary election, an unveiling ceremony held at the Emeritus Professor Theophilus Ogunlesi Hall, Ibadan. Before presenting the flag, the national chairman, who invited all the 36 states chairmen of the party openly asked if Makinde should be questioned that attract a loud voice vote from the delegates. The Nigerian Democratic Congress (NDC) May 30th hold a special convention in Abuja for the affirmation of Peter Obi as its 2027 presidential candidate. The National Publicity Secretary of the NDC, OSA Director, confirmed the development to the nation in Abuja. Obi had emerged the sole presidential aspirant of the NDC, being the only one that picked the presidential expression of interest form of the party. The National Association of Nigerian Nurses Kwara State Chapter has issued a 2-week ultimatum to the state government to address welfare issues of members or risk an industrial action. In a letter addressed to the Governor, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, and signed by the Secretary of the Association, Marcus Luca, the association lamented that despite several letters and reminders of appropriate authorities, the government had failed to address the welfare issues affecting the members. The association listed the unresolved issues to include entry points and proper placement of nurses, amongst others. The association also complained about the non-implementation of approved allowances for nurses, particularly those serving in specialist units. It also decried the increase in harassment and intimidation and assault on nurses and other healthcare workers on duty. Fresh tensions have erupted within the People's Democratic Party (PDP) following plans of the Tanimu Turaki-led faction to adopt former President Goodluck Jonathan as his presidential flag bearer for the 2027 general election. The abduction is expected to take place at a special national convention in Abuja, a move that has deepened the leadership crisis within the party. The development comes weeks after the Supreme Court nullified the November 2025 convention that produced the Turaki leadership and affirmed the Abdul Rahman Mohammed-led National Working Committee backed by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. Amid the controversy, Wike warned that hotels, event centers, and other public facilities hosting meetings of unrecognized political groups risk losing their land titles. The Turaki faction, however, insisted it will not be intimidated, vowing to resist any attempt to stop its activities as the battle for control of the PDP intensifies ahead of the 2027 elections. The Kano state government said maternal mortality in the state has declined from 1,025 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2025 to 570 following healthcare interventions supported by development partners. The Director General of the Kano State Primary Healthcare Management Board, Professor Salisu Ibrahim, disclosed this during the virtual commissioning of the revitalized Gadan Gaya Primary Healthcare Center under the World Bank-supported Impact Project. The facility was inaugurated as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen primary healthcare delivery across the state. Representing the governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, at the event, Ibrahim attributed the improvement in maternal health indicators to coordinated interventions by the state government, the federal government, and development partners. The National Sports Commission, NSC, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have agreed to collaborate in promoting transparency, accountability, and integrity in the Nigerian sports sector. The partnership was announced during a meeting between NSC Chairman Shehu Diko and EFCC Chairman Ola Olukayede in Abuja. Diko said the collaboration aligns with ongoing efforts to reposition sports as a key economic driver, noting that reforms such as Renewed Hope Initiative for Nigerian Sports Economy, the National Anti-Doping Framework, and the Independent Sports Integrity Board are aimed at strengthening governance and attracting investment into the sector. Responding, Olukayede commended the reforms in the sports industry and pledged the EFCC's support. He said the Commission will work with NSC through its Fraud Risk Assessment and Control Department to prevent financial misconduct, strengthen compliance, and ensure prudent management of resources in the sector. The Managing Director of Lagos Waste Management Authority, Dr. Muyiwa, says new material recovery facilities being developed by the Lagos State government will create about 5,000 jobs. Beginsin disclosed this in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria while monitoring the monthly environmental sanitation exercise in Apapa on Saturday. He said the facilities would provide safer and more organized working conditions for people engaged in informal waste picking activities, while strengthening recycling and resource recovery efforts in the state. Now, according to him, the facilities are part of ongoing reforms aimed at modernizing waste management operations and reducing resilience on traditional landfill sites. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria is set to begin the return airlift of Nigerian pilgrims from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on Friday, June 5th. Director of Training and Research of the Commission, Professor Abubakar, disclosed this on Thursday during a courtesy visit to Kano State Amar Hajj Ali Ibrahim Abdul Qadri in Makkah. Abubakar said the Commission had concluded all necessary arrangements to ensure smooth, safe, and hitch-free return of pilgrims following the completion of the 2026 Hajj rites. You are watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for joining us. We received reports of moderate to heavy rainfall across parts of the northeast and the northwest, gradually extending into the central cities and much of the southern half of the country between Friday night and Saturday morning. During this period, the highest concentration of the rain-bearing clouds was observed over this region. This pattern has become increasingly common in recent days and is expected to persist into Sunday. So our forecast models shows that the distribution of rainfall with thunderstorms likely across the southern belt, the central states, and also extending into many cities within the northwestern region. These thunderstorms are expected to vary in intensity and many accompanied by strong gusty winds. Residents in affected areas are therefore advised to remain weather aware, take necessary precautions and stay safe while traveling or engaging in outdoor activities. Thank you for watching.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Prime on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reduced its petrol gantry price by 25 naira per litre, lowering the cost from 1,275 naira to 1,250 naira. A senior Dangote Group official who spoke on condition of the anonymity because he was not authorized to comment publicly on the matter, confirmed the development to our correspondent on Saturday. The official attributed the price adjustment to the recent decline in crude oil prices on the international market. The reduction comes as depot prices continue to respond to changing market conditions. Over now to the Central Bank of Nigeria has shifted the enforcement date for the mandatory geofencing of point-of-sale terminals to August 1st, 2026, granting banks and payment service providers additional time to meet compliance requirements aimed at tightening oversight of electronic payment transactions nationwide. The extension was announced by the Director of the Payment System Supervision Department, Dr. Rekia Usman, and applies to banks, mobile money operators, payment service providers, super agents, and other licensed operators across Nigeria's payment ecosystem. According to the Apex Bank, the reverse timeline followed extensive stakeholders' engagement and operation considerations arising from the implementation of earlier reforms, including the migration to ISO 222 payment, messaging standards, and the mandatory geotagging of payment terminals. The CBN says the measures remains critical to strengthening payment systems, security, improving transaction monitoring, and enhancing the regulatory compliance across financial sector. The federal government and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria have signed a 10 billion naira memorandum of understanding aimed at expanding access to affordable housing finance for federal civil servants through mortgage support, home renovation loans, rent assistance, and incremental housing development. The initiative follows the federal government's approval of a 10 billion naira FMBN funded housing loan scheme for workers, viewed as one of the more direct interventions targeted at improving workers' welfare amid the present economic realities. Speaking during a strategic meeting, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, FMBN, Shehu Osidi, said the latest collaboration was designed to improve affordability and expand access to housing finance for workers. As Nigeria intensifies efforts to diversify its economy through the Blue Economy Initiative, stakeholders in the maritime sector have warned that the country may continue to lose vast economic opportunities unless urgent investments are made in manpower development, maritime security, and port efficiency. This formed the thrust of discussions at the Second International Conference on Maritime Trade and Transport 2026 organized by Global Maritime Academy. Ughelli South Local Government Area of Delta State at the Petroleum Training Institute Conference Center, Efron. Speaking at the conference themed The Nigerian Maritime Sector, Harnessing the Potentials, Challenges and Future Trends, President of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Nigeria, Dr. Buboye Oyeyemi, lamented that despite Nigeria's strategic coastal advantage and numerous seaports, the nation had yet to attain the status of a true maritime power. And on the foreign news, Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Jimoh Ibrahim, on May 29th, received United States representatives to the UN Economic and Social Council, Ambassador Dan Nagere. The meeting held at Nigeria's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York, Ibrahim assured America that President Tinubu will support President Donald Trump's initiative of trade over aid to push forward economic reforms. The United Nations has raised alarm over a sharp rise in conflict-related sexual violence worldwide, revealing that nearly 10,000 verified cases were recorded in 2025. The report highlights an escalating trend in the use of rape and other forms of sexual abuse as weapons of war, terror, torture, and political repression. Presenting the UN annual report at the organization's headquarters, the Special Representative on Sexual Violence and Conflicts, Pramila Patten, said women and girls remain the primary target of the brutal attack. The report notes that incidents increased significantly across conflict zones, exposing the devastating human cost of ongoing crisis. According to the United Nations, 9,788 cases were verified across 21 conflict-affected countries in 2025. However, the organization warns that the actual scale of abuse is likely far higher, as many cases remain undocumented due to fear, stigma, insecurity, and limited access to survivors. The United States warned it is more than capable of resuming war with Iran after President Donald Trump said any peace deal must adhere to his red lines, including Tehran never being able to develop nuclear weapons. The White House had signaled Trump was close to a decision on an initial deal after weeks of mixed signals in Turner's negotiations, though Tehran denied there was a final agreement on the ending the Middle East conflict that has jolted the global economy. U.S. sources had told AFP the deal was waiting on Trump's sign-off, but the president had made no decision after a 2-hour meeting in the White House Situation Room on Friday in Washington. Meanwhile, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, while attending a major Asia Defense Summit in Singapore, said on Saturday local time that Washington could restart the war if it wanted. In sports, Nigeria has a new fastest man after Kayinsola Ajayi clocked a stunning 9.84 seconds in the men's 100-meter at the NCAA East Regional on Friday, breaking the national record and setting a new benchmark in Nigerian sprinting. The 21-year-old Auburn University athlete produced the performance of his life to win his heat, qualify for NCAA championship, and ease a record that had stood for nearly 2 decades. His time of 9.84 seconds eclipsed the previous Nigerian national record of 9.85 seconds set by Olusoji Fasuba in 2006, a mark many believe will stand for years to come. The remarkable run also elevated Ajayi to the top of the global rankings for 2026, making him the world leader in the event so far this season. Beyond the national record, Ajayi's performance ranks at the second fastest 100-meter ever recorded in Colgate history, further underlining the scale of the achievement. Liverpool have decided to part ways with manager Arne Slot only a few days after the Premier League season ended. The Reds failed to defend their title and managed to finish in 5th place and qualify for the Champions League. Slot is set to be replaced by former Bournemouth manager Andoni Iraola. Nigeria's under-17 girls side, the Flamingos, head into Sunday's second leg of their FIFA under-17 Women's World Cup qualifier against Guinea at the Remo Star Stadium in Eken Ramo, holding in commanding 5-0 advantage from the first leg played in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, but head coach Hakeem Boussari insists his side will not be taking the job for granted. Boussari acknowledged that managing complacency following such an emblematic first leg victory is among his biggest challenge in the build-up to the home tie, warning that Guinea remains capable of a strong response. The coach compared preparation to studying for examinations, stressing that sustained effort and repetition remains non-negotiable regardless of the aggregate position. As Global TV News Prime comes to an end, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Brought to you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the death of retired Lieutenant General Chika Dibia Isaac Obiako, describing him as a distinguished Nigerian soldier, diplomat and global peace advocate whose service brought honor to Nigeria and the African continent. In business, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reduced its petrol gantry price by 25 naira per litre, lowering the cost from 1,275 naira to 1,250 naira. And on the foreign scene, the United States warned it is more than capable of resuming war with Iran after President Donald Trump said any peace deal must adhere to his red lines, including Tehran never being able to develop nuclear weapons. And finally, in sports, Nigeria has a new fastest man after Keisola Ajayi clocked a stunning 9.84 seconds in the men's 100-meter at the NCAA East Regional on Friday, breaking the national record and setting a new benchmark in Nigerian sprinting. That's it on News Prime. Here's a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @GlobalTVNG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching.